in a small Maine town, under the sky so clear, a man named Vinny fights, driven by the fear. The CPS is corrupt, breaking hearts in cold. He stands with the people, brave and bold. With the Constitution held high in his hand, he walks the streets a one-man band. No more kids for cash, no more silent cries. In Vinny's eyes, the truth never dies. We're fighting for justice, standing tall. Vinny's voice echoes, answering the call. Through our podcast, we light up the night, freeing our kids, bringing truth to light. Families torn apart in the dead of night. Vinny's on the front line, ready for the fight. He records the stories, each tear and word, amplifying voices, making sure they're heard. Families torn apart in the dead of night. Vinny's on the front line, ready for the fight. He records the stories, each tear and word, amplifying voices, making sure they're heard. Oh, we're fighting for justice, standing tall. Vinny's voice echoes, answering the call. Through our podcast, we light up the night, freeing our kids, bringing truth to light. Down the scenic roads, past the rustling pines, Vinny dreams of freedom, crossing lines. Against the corruption, he won't stand down. The CPS in Maine will lose their crown.
In the heart of our great nation, where the strength of our communities is built upon the foundation of strong and loving families, an urgent crisis is unfolding. Child Protective Services, CPS, an institution designed to safeguard our most vulnerable, has in many cases betrayed its noble mission. Too often, families are torn apart not by neglect or abuse, but by systemic failures and corruption. We can no longer stand idly by as these injustices continue. We are here to give a voice to those who have been isolated, to shine a light on the corruption, and to rally our fellow citizens in this critical fight for justice. Every day, countless families are caught in a web of bureaucracy and abuse of power, their lives disrupted and their bonds shattered. Children, who should be nurtured and protected, are instead placed in situations that can be just as, if not more, harmful than the circumstances from which they were taken. Parents, often bewildered and powerless, face insurmountable odds as they fight to reunite with their children. This is not the America we believe in. We cannot allow these injustices to persist. Our mission is to educate, to inform, and to inspire action. We promise to bring you daily updates on CPS, exposing the truth and fighting for reform. We must remember that the future of our nation depends on the strength and unity of our families. By standing together, we can hold CPS accountable and ensure that it fulfills its true purpose, protecting children and preserving families. This is a fight we must not and will not lose. We are committed to saving our families and securing a brighter future for all. The road ahead is challenging, but with your support, we can make a difference. Together, we will bring hope to those who have lost it and ensure that justice prevails. Let us unite with unwavering resolve and a sense of patriotic duty to safeguard the integrity of our families and the future of our nation.
In the United States, CPS makes upwards of $3 billion per day on trafficking and selling our children. The corruption may start with the caseworker, but goes through the judicial system, passing the governor through the Senate and into the White House. The entire system has a hand in the business known as CPS.
Our children are stolen every minute of a 24-hour day. They are being robbed of their innocence, their trust, their happiness. As parents, we are isolated and betrayed by a government we trust. States are balancing budgets on kids' lives. Only 12% of the kids taken will be reunified. Title IV funding is being riveted with fraud.
We need to stop CPS and abolish CPUFist.com is leading the way. Join us.
All right, everybody. How we doing? How's your evening going? That's right, you got the one and only Vinny here with you. Hope you guys are having a good evening. It is Saturday, and it is time for my show, CPS Discussions with Mr. Freedom Fighter Vinny. I hope you guys are having a great weekend, staying safe. So I want to go over a couple things with you guys that I just kind of, found. I think it's a little odd. And this is out of the Maine state constitution. Okay. It states Article 1, Section 19 of the Maine Constitution establish the right of home rule for multiplicity. This means that multiplicities can govern themselves in any way that is not prohibited by state or federal law. How did they get away with this, guys? How did they get away with enacting their own constitution like that? This goes against federal constitution and our constitution. And I want to know how this came about and who's the one that put this into play. Because that violates the constitution, violates it on so many different levels. We talked earlier on the main show about the thing with Janet Mills. And I hope the governor is watching my show, and I hope that they are seeing what I'm saying about their whole things out there to the public, because I am blatantly putting them out there. And I will not stop until justice is served on the Department of Health and Human Services, the district attorney's office in Portland, the judges, and all the corrupt people that are in Maine, sitting on the benches, sitting in the AG's offices, all of that. I will go outright against every single one of them, if possible. I am not afraid to take on a government that's corrupt. I am not. And I've proven myself time and time again. You guys have seen the video of the things that they did to me. You guys have seen that I have been arrested and violated on so many levels. I've been persecuted to the public. I've had defamation of character. Um, they've done everything in their power to make me out to look like a monster in this state. And I'll tell you what, I'm holding you accountable, Mean. I'm holding you accountable, Janet Mills. You're a piece of shit governor that do not deserve the office. Neither does your Democratic Party, which includes all your Democratic attorneys and your Democratic DA, because he's a piece of shit. I'm not afraid to call the DA out. I'm not afraid to sit back and let these people trample my rights, especially you, Officer Gagnon, Officer Lane, and every other officer that has trampled upon my rights within the state of Maine. I speak out against you, and I will not stop. You will not silence my voice. You will not take away my freedoms. I will, in fact, have justice on every last one of you. And I hope you are listening, Roxanne Swagger of DHS Supervisor, Leanne Keenan, Intake Officer, Bobby Joe Johnson of Portland DHHS, every last one of you, Natalie Anderson, Michelle Freeman, DA Carlos Diaz, Stephen Shea Law in Portland, Judge Jay French, Portland Judge. I speak out against all of you because I am not afraid of you. You may think I am afraid, but I am not. I am not afraid of any one of you because every single one of you have violated my constitutional rights. Due process, 14th Amendment, Second Amendment, First Amendment, Fifth Amendment, Ninth Amendment. The list goes on. I'm keeping track of all the violations you have caused, the damage you have caused, the medical neglect of my children, the alienation of my one child and my other child, my younger child as well, because you've kept her from seeing her father. Because the DA in Portland is then in contact with the ADA up in Kennebec County, reaching past his jurisdiction. This is fraud. This is tampering. And this should not be going on in this damn state. And I hope Mr. Trump takes every single one of you and throws you in jail and locks away the goddamn key. Because you deserve it for treason and sedition. The day is going to come where you decide that you're going to play God and that you think you're inferior. The same with you, Bar Associates of Maine. The same with you, and I hope you're listening, Richard Chipman. I hope you're really paying attention. I put you on blast in your email. I put you on blast. You work for the bar. You're just as guilty. You say you're defending me zealously and everything else. You can't respond to my email. You can't respond to any phone calls. You've ignored me for the past 3 days. I wonder why, because I called you out on your bullshit. Just like I'm calling Corey out right now. He tried to tell me, oh, well, none of this affects you in the Portland district. Yes, it does. It does affect it in the Portland District Court, because you know what? They're an admiralty court, you idiot. They're an administrative law court. It does affect the case. And when I chalk my shit up to federal court, oh boy, the shit is going to hit the fan. Every constitution violation that I got you on, you're all fucked. I'm taking you all down. Brick by brick. Every last one of you. And I will be coming. Mark my words. CPS in Augusta, Maine is trafficking children. No one I've seen posts. No one knows where the children have gone. No one. There's kids missing all over Maine. All over Maine. One lady says that there's been one kid that's been in custody for more than 2 years, and they don't even know where that kid is. Disappeared. What the fuck is wrong with this system? What is going on? Why are these kids not being found? Why are these judges and these attorneys and CPS getting away with trafficking children and having them sexually abused, emotionally abused, physically abused? Why is this happening? Why is this being allowed? Mr. President, if you do not act, Donald J. Trump, on this soon, our children will be dead because you're not standing your ground. You're looking into Doge and you're doing all this investigation. I get that. You're chasing the fraud. You want the fraud? CPS is the fraud. Title 4E is a fraud. Title 4D is a fraud. There's where you should be looking, Mr. President. And I speak on perhaps almost every single parent in the United States when I say you need to be investigating Title 4E funding and Title D funding and Title 4E funding at that matter, because they are peddling all their money through Title 4E, Title 4D, and Title 5 funding. Every single title they're using to their advantage to fraud the states, to fraud the federal government. This is facts, Mr. President, and I hope that you are paying attention. And I hope Miss Bundy is paying attention and she prosecutes every single one of them, even the judges who are peddling in the courts and overcharging we the people bail, excessive bail at that, 50, 60, 70, 120 grand at a time. Mr. President, this is a problem within our system. The judicial branches of government need to be abolished, starting with the Admiralty Court and Administration Court. They are a sea law court and they need to be taken out of the USA. End of story. No more administrative court judges. Take them out. No more family court. Take them out. Get rid of them. Abolish them. Abolish CPS. Abolish DSS. DFS. Every last agency that deals with child and family services needs to go. And I'm sure a lot of parents out there are waiting to see this happen. They're waiting to get their kids home where they belong, safe with the parents, because they have violated our constitutional rights. They have violated due process. They have made up bogus charges on many of us to steal and traffic our children for profit. Mr. President, this is a problem within the whole United States and all over the world. Other countries are dealing with the same problem. UK, and many more. They are trafficking our children throughout the US and overseas for profit. You know, we all come on here every day and we talk about it and we talk about our cases. People don't realize the injustice that's going on throughout the entire world. The constitutional right violations that are being allowed. The judges ruling on CPS's side. The guardian ad litems falsifying documentations in the courtroom, lying under oath, and getting away with it. CPS lying on documents, making up whatever they want, using a broken AI system that has been failing Maine for more than 3 years already. It's been out there, Mr. President. Pam Bondi, Cash Patel. They're using broken AI systems and letting the system do their jobs because they don't want to do their job. They just want to collect that fucking check. And what makes me angry, there are bad parents. There's parents out there that are doing cocaine and all that other stuff that still have their children, Debbie, and live in hotels. Matter of fact, here in Maine, they've been keeping kids in hotels with the supervisors and caseworkers. That should make you even more angry. There's not enough foster parents out there. And the foster parents that are out there are either child pedophiles, abusers, or they're just collecting the check and don't give a shit about our kids. And I'm sorry, foster care is not the way. It is not. Our kids, if they are taken from us, should be placed with other family members that can take them and can care for them the right way. At least they stay within the family units. They should not be given to the state automatically because the state don't give a shit about our children. DFS, DSS, TFI, none of them give a fuck about our kids. Not a one. It's all about the profit and the money. That's all they give a shit about. They don't. The CPS does not give a shit. It's about the money and the profit. It's about funding their ego and their identities. They are a corporate identity. They're agencies in an agency in an agency in an agency. And they're contracting out to other agencies. This is proven fact. I don't know how many times I've listened to quite a few people talking about other systems that are being contracted. Well, they have this contract with this person. They have this contract with this other person. Matter of fact, I know someone that said that they have contracts within contracts within contracts. This is a problem. It really is. Oh, Mr. Gunner's joining us.
I'm having some headset issues from earlier. I'm
Yeah,
gonna
well,
have to reboot it. Don't know why.
I can hear you.
I'm working off the camera system that I have.
Oh, that's why.
Um. So, what do we think about that new release that I popped on everybody with the thing from the DOJ notifying the senator of what's going on that hit everybody's platform?
Well, I'm hoping that, something gives here soon. That's what I'm hoping.
Right. Well, here's the thing. What people are not realizing is this is the after effects of SEC versus Jarsky. Is it exposed those things, saying that those judges had to have a trial by jury, which you were supposed to have in your CPS case and any other case that you have. Administrative judge courtrooms are illegal and unconstitutional. That's what SEC Jarsky was saying. If you're not doing nothing more than mediating, then you've got an issue.
Yet I was told it was frivolous. That's what I was told.
No. What that letter was doing was notifying everybody of every state, because every senator technically got one for their cooperation, whether it was published or not, is that the DOGE now has the authority under the president to remove all of them.
I hope they start right here in Maine.
We all hope that they start everywhere. I mean, that's kind of the point of it. But Ben, let me jump off here real quick. Dogs are needing to go out real quick. I'll jump back on here in just a minute.
All right, I'll be here. I hope you all have been paying attention out there to what's really been going on. Um, like you said, there is a battle going on right now, and we're trying to get the point across to our president, to Pam Bondi, to Kash Patel, to all these people in power in Washington, to our president, which is supposed to be our chief and commander. He answers to we the people, truth people, very much so. The president answers to we the people. We are the president's boss, and we need to start inserting our rights and start reaching out to every single one of these people that are in the presidential office and giving them heads up to every single case. They start as parents that wanted to do something about child trafficking abuse. Right. And it's bad, Jonathan. It really is. They have been trafficking kids for years. Um, there's even more so coming out. The Epstein files are sitting on Pam Bondi's desk right now. And someone said that they're going to be releasing that within the next couple days. And I can't wait to see that information be released. Just like I can't wait to see the the other ones, John F. Kennedy being shot, Martin Luther King. I can't wait for all this to come out. I cannot. And it's going to come to light. And when it does, the assassinations are going to be known. And I have a feeling we're going to go to war. Because once the truth is out there ain't going to be stopping this. Not whatsoever. The people are going to retaliate. It's coming, guys. It really is. So you need to start preparing for the worst. It is coming. I called the Washington number and told him about my daughter's story. Awesome, Debbie. Awesome. And that's what we got to do. We got to keep putting that information out there. We got to post other people's stories. We have to get everything out to the public. Start spreading your story, no matter if it's on news stations, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, X, YouTube. You need to get your stories out there.
And the idea is using some of these modern releases, like what was recently released, and you guys can find that if you follow me on Facebook. That was all released, and even to a lot of the CPS's groups, of all the things in there and more on my own page. And like I said, it was full discussion. It was basically what it was summarized as was previous things of them turning around and saying these administrative law judges are basically not following the Constitution. You're not mediating between corporations, which is what their main structure is. You're dealing with people and their rights. Trying to charge people under stuff with no evidence or anything and getting criminal things. One of the biggest things is giving criminal classifications for things in civil courtrooms. How can you do that? Because it has to do with this. No, that's a different type of crime. It's a classification. And they're doing this all the time to pump their numbers up of here are people that have offended children that probably have never offended children whatsoever, but they made the list because of CPS's corrupt shit and has destroyed lives. It's over and over again. I mean, when you come down to the point, you get a physical exam and a testimony says that something is, and this is not more than one thing, do a physical. And the child's never been touched at all, medically been seen, inspected by the doctor, never been touched. They will still take those fabricated stories over hard physical evidence that should throw the case out. Well, we think or we believe it's true, or there's a possibility of it happening. Therefore, we're going to step in and call you bad parents, and what you're doing is not acceptable. Let me explain this. By the government. When did the government regulate parenting? It's illegal. That falls under something that the courts go back and study law. And you go to this. This is the hierarchy of all laws. And this is the way it's taught in every law school. God's law. Okay. Then you've got, what's the next one there, Vinny? I think it's a common law comes to the next one, which is like common sense and this and that. And then you've got trust law, which is, trust and this and that. And then you have contract law. Now, our Constitution, in a legal definition, is a contract between we, the people, the citizens of this country, and the people of our elected and appointed officials. These are the rules that they cannot break, are constitutional ones. And they've been doing it to make a profit. And that is why they are trafficking children. Because if these cases, every case went through a constitutional audit, they're going to notice a caseworker or somebody has entered a home illegally with no warrant, no court order, or no emergency. And I can tell you how to defeat them. No warrant, no court order. Nothing existed. I was never handed anything. By law, when you are served, you are to have that in hand, in writing, signed by a judge. Matter of fact, you can check out our show tomorrow night that we're going to cover court orders and warrants on gunning for CPS and the legal aspects of what to look for to make sure it's legit. Because a lot of these caseworkers too are printing stuff with AI or even other things. And here's my warrant or this or that. And it's a false fucking warrant. It has to be registered with the court clerk. It has to have their seal on it. Otherwise, it's not legal. If they don't meet the criteria, they cannot move forward. And if they enter without that criteria being on there, it's an illegal entry. Now, I'm going to go one step beyond that. The Constitution talks about this. When they cross that line and life or liberty is at risk, such as your children, you have the legal right under the Constitution to use your Second Amendment, which is why they have attacked it, which is why they took it out of public school, which is why it's so evil, because it's the one thing that makes them stop. When you can come up and say, you entered my house, you don't have them, you will be dead. And I will be constant. Why? Because you've created a threat. I work for the state. I work for the police department. That don't mean shit.
Here's
the
one.
Constitution says if you don't have them and you cross the threshold or open the first locked door, including your screen door, lockable door, that is a Fourth Amendment violation, and everything after it's illegal and unconstitutional.
Here's one to wrap your minds around, guys. So we were going through documentation, and we happened to come across this one file that said generated by, okay, and it says contained data from January 1st, 2004. Okay, now I'm going to make this so you guys understand. The person that put the allegations against me, who was coerced into the allegations, manipulated, and was under the influence of alcohol and marijuana at the time of this said coercion, okay? She's 18 now, okay? Put this in your mind. She's 18. And they're saying they got data from my Facebook Messenger on her from 2004. Do the math, guys.
And Jonathan, you've got to watch the other thing too with some of those things that are very old. We have enacted several treaties and other contracts that have wrapped up other previous contracts. Yes, they are still legal, but now they fall under the new categorization of the new contract or an updated contract. They're not overturned. They're just addressed and renamed and say another bill. So they have the ability to do that within Congress and within the Senate, within bills and everything else. My biggest issue is you don't hear about them because most of these things that are done, and this is how we really need to address this. And I really wish the president would address this as well as the judicial system, is the fact of Congress stacking bills on top of each other rather than being single subject matter bills. One bill. So by the time that was the biggest complaint, I'm sure you guys heard it. Listen, we've got a bill and this thing is stacked and I don't have time to read it. And we have to vote on it in 5 minutes. How can you legally do that when you can't even read it? And then you had that thing with Pelosi that would say, well, we have to pass it so we know what's in it. That is the dumbest shit I have ever heard in my life. Let's just see how it works and go from there. Let's not look at it, see if it's constitutionally. Now, did you put it past the law librarian to make sure it was constitutional? I wonder how many senators and everything else are writing shit and not going to the law library and then presenting it on the floor. Maybe we need to look at Congress.
Yep.
Uh-oh. Because if they change it, it's not you can change it last minute. Oh, well, we're lawmakers. It still has to go through the law librarian and be reviewed for its constitutionality, for its federality. For anything else that's on the books, it's law, unless you address it specifically. Now, this overturns or overtakes this particular law. They do a lot of things in treaties. That's why a lot of people are freaking out about treaties. If you really know about treaties, those are agreements with other countries saying we will or we will not. And some of those treaties are even unconstitutional that are being looked at. So, I mean, we got to look at the whole, guys, it's a big picture thing. We can't just look at CPS. Unfortunately, we look to the federal government. This is evil. This is evil all the time, never looking at our own state's corruption. It was always the federal government's problem. It's always the federal government. It's always it's always that bullshit. There was no accountability for anybody in the states. Sheriffs have been disillusioned to their job description federally described. That handbook and training for your local sheriff comes from the federal government, not from the state. That's
Yeah,
what we need to say.
Obsidian definitely knows the truth.
There is so much to unpack, and you go down a rabbit hole and you have it semi-addressed certain aspects of certain things in this previous contract and that contract. They're contract amendments, but it all goes back, yes, to the rudimentary thing of the core of the contract. Unless, once again, part of our Constitution is to take some of those outdated things and remove them and update them. That's the beauty of our Constitution. But the core fundamental facts that are unchangeable are your constitutional rights. Those are unfathomably never supposed to be even questioned. We can debate some things about the legalities and what it means or this or that, which can be done. But once you cross the line of saying, that don't apply to me, even as an average citizen, in an actual way, when you do that, you commit an act of treason against this country as an individual. And that's just the way it is. And that's exactly what we're accusing those people of doing. You didn't follow the Constitution, and it's not just an organization. What about all the people that made it up, that passed all these policies and procedures and wrote them in the training? They're all guilty. Every last one of them. All the way to somebody that came in and just did training things. If it wasn't constitutional, that's that's sedition against this country. That's training people to bypass or circumvent the Constitution. It's an act of treason, but we don't use it. We should. And we should follow through on what treason says. Death. Especially when it comes to our children that's been done. Absolutely. You should go before a military tribunal and answer for everything you've done to undermine this country and reprogram and psychologically manipulate this younger generation. Why? Because you break a family and children when you break a home. And when it became normal, because the divorce rate's so high, why can't everybody go through it? And those that are staying together or remarried, we can't have that. You're not dependent on the system. See, if there's no need for a system, there's no need for a system. They have to show there's a need. But when there's no need, there's no money. And they know that. So they create or fabricate all these kids that are getting abused and this and that. At the same time, half of us are looking at, we grew up just fine, and half the shit that you have on there is horse shit. Because if so, everybody was abused.
But then you go back, you guys got to think, you go back to the 80s, the 70s, there was no DHS, there was no CPS. They didn't get involved in your family. The kids ran until midnight on the streets. They didn't go after the parents back then. You know, us kids were beat with belts and fucking wooden paddles.
Yeah.
Locked in our rooms for hours on
Even by
end.
teachers.
Yeah.
But you know what? I'm still alive. Did it scare the shit out of me and do a few things? Yeah, but it also taught me a few other things. A little bit, if you're going to hit me, at least fucking hit me, make it fucking hurt.
Yep.
I mean, that type of shit. I mean, you know, you get a different sense about you. You have some sarcasm. It forms us as who we're a human. But we have people trying to correct us. Now, once again, my one in my for corporal punishment. No, I believe that the punishment should fit the crime. There's mama. So the punishment should fit the crime. Should you beat a kid within an inch of his life for not folding their clothes? No. If they do something that almost kills themselves, literally, or could have killed them, absolutely. Make sure that child knows never to fucking do that again. They're lucky they're alive. And everybody says, I never let my kids get it. Then you're not letting your kids experience life. Because you get out here and you do some of the stuff some of us do or did for a living, this shit will fucking kill you if you don't respect it. Tell me what, I'll tell you one thing right now. You want to teach a kid a lesson? Play with electricity a little bit. Learn not to respect electricity. You find out real quick because it bites hard. And it doesn't care what color you are. It doesn't care your religion. It doesn't care your sex or how you identify or your pronoun. Go right ahead. Fuck with electricity and don't respect it. And the only thing you're going to end up is you're going to be dead. And it's going to hurt the entire fucking time it kills you. That's not a joke, but we have forgotten this. And we have forgotten to teach our children that.
But Jonathan, you got to remember, they may have made that bill, but here's the kicker. The Constitution rules in the 10th Amendment that a caseworker
privacy clause
cannot enter your home without a warrant or court order and cannot take your child. That is covered in the 10th Amendment.
That's covered under the Social Security Act, as we did on another show. Guys, if you're having children removed, under nothing under the Social Security Act gives them that. And if they get any federal money for that case by a child being removed without the express consent of the head of the household, it says, that's one, a felony. Number two, you just entered and made a Fourth Amendment right violation, and they say you got no right in the home. Then why does every single handbook in all 50 states say that they're coming into your home? But yet you still receive federal money.
Should we read this again? Should we read this again so they understand? All right.
Read the Social Security Act, section, what was it, 1101?
This is under title Supplement Security Income. Okay. D, Part D.
Section D, subsection D.
And this act shall be, nothing in this act shall be construed as authorizing any federal official, agent, or representative in carrying out any of the provisions of this act to take charge of any child over the objection of either of the parents of such child or the person standing in loco parentis to such child.
That means they can't be coerced. They can't be anything or this and that. You are not allowed in my home. And if you need in the home, you are to get a warrant or court order. So every single one of you social workers, and you can share this out there, you have committed a felony for every home you have entered. I don't care what the state wrote, because here's the thing. You're the one that did it. You have now, that's called conspiracy to commit deprivation of rights and or a felony. It doesn't matter. You still participated in the act. You collected a check to do for it on top of it. That qualifies you for domestic terrorism. You received payment to break the law. Uh-oh. Oh, nobody's liking what we're talking about. Now you see why we get kicked off TikTok and other platforms. We can't let him talk.
Yep.
He's made the connection. If everybody realizes this, guys, this is why our numbers are growing like crazy. People are paying attention. People are waking up. I've got, there's a lot of stuff getting ready. You're going to start hearing probably about us here real soon. Ain't it, Vinny? We was talking about that today. Once my shit kicks off, baby, listen here. I ain't just all talk. I'm coming. Understand this. Zhang Zhu said this. You thought me weak while I was only taking and building my strength in my reserves. But I will get you so arrogant, you will leave your armies behind, and you will come with just a small army while my whole brigade overtakes just the so many of you. Because of your arrogance, you will fall. The same way with CPS. You're arrogant. You thought you'd put it out there. And you said, I don't need this. I'm hiding under the state. Well, guess what? The Department of Justice, under the DOGE, under the executive order of the president, that time has ended. Kind of coincidental with the way I'm getting ready to file. Like, I kind of know something. Or maybe I've had conversations with people. Who could those be that I would know about those?
Here it is for you guys. All right. This is the private sphere of the family, and I'm going to read it to you so you understand it. Therefore, as proven by truth, fact, law, and evidence, and conclusive continued removal of children or human offspring from families without safety hazards, strict scrutiny, and fitness of the parent test, and an interference in care, custody, education, and the upbringing are unconstitutional.
Guys, we've got the case law. We've got everything we can to hold them accountable. The thing, instead of talking, we got to take it to the courts. You guys, because of that, it's fell. Let me tell you something from an inside track. The FBI is now listening to your complaints and looking for federal laws being broke by courts and juvenile courts and administrative judges. Anything they get, the DOJ direct from the president just green-lighted the FBI to look past Rooker versus Feldman due to constitutional issues that was there before. The jig's up. You're done. They're coming after you. You better, there's nowhere for you to run. There is nowhere for you to hide. You think your arrogance, I work for the state, this and that. Let me tell you something. You break that constitutional law, you're going to a federal fucking prison. If not, you may get a one-way ticket to Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, and then we'll have a different discussion. And I'll be honest with you, Vinny, if it comes down to that we pop the cork, I got no problem spending a week on vacation at Guantanamo Bay throwing switches or anything else.
So let's follow through.
I'll
with
sleep
that.
like a baby knowing these child predators that have destroyed families.
Let's follow
being
through
put
with that
to an
one
end.
that you're talking about. Okay, here we go, guys, and I'm going to throw it out there because this is great case law, and Obsidian is the one that gave you this case law, so I'm going to read it and benefit from Mr. Obsidian, or to let you guys know that is a man to talk to. Okay, so Butts versus Economu, United States versus Lee. There is no immunity to a violation of the Constitution by a public official sworn to perform their duty. None. Zilch.
And that's what they just put out in that letter. We will no longer respect that immunity for constitutional rights violations by the administrative judges. You are done. Not the fact we're taking you in a swipe. We're going to now open up cases and accept those cases and investigations now because it's the root of corruption. Wonder if that had anything to do with the evidence I turned over to the FBI and DOJ.
Here's the one on the workers, guys. Listen, 10th Amendment. State social workers are prohibited from violating the Constitution and the Bill of Rights.
It's guys, we're seeing a transformation in our country that I hope doesn't stop till we get all the way back to the core of the Constitution. And then I believe your eyes will finally be open to the amount of slavery and crap that we have been going through, that they've been robbing you of your money, your livelihood, your happiness, your success, everything, because somebody didn't want to get their hands dirty and be a politician or this or that, and thought they knew better than you, and they thought they knew better than the Constitution. Funny, Stalin thought that in Russia, and Hitler thought that in Germany. But the question I have for that is, I don't know, my family, they paid a price. They were over there. They rescued people that were in concentration camps, seen hells I pray to God we never see on this earth again that was described to me from a firsthand experience. Not just that, those that were rescued, I knew them too, with the numbers on their hands, on their arms. It has a significant meaning. And anybody out there that is Jewish heritage, you know what I'm talking about if you've been taught and brought up right. You'll never forget that. God should we never take and get to that point in this world again.
So
but
what
we're
you
running
guys
around with social security numbers that ain't no different than having that number there. You are identified, you are traded on the stock market according to that social security number.
and what you guys don't also realize is that a lot of us, and I know Darren's in the back because I seen him pop in, so he's listening and watching as well. And Darren can tell you guys should be doing your motions and affidavits of truth. Do not let your attorney say, "Oh, you can't do that. You can't file in the court." You have every right to file in the court, and you have every right to challenge jurisdiction. Just like you have a right to be heard.
Mm-hmm.
That is your God-given right.
And if your attorney's there, your attorney works for you. He has to do what they're told. You don't do what they think. You're there to guide me through this as I tell you what I want done. You're to figure out how to get it done.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And that goes in the key point of, with my attorney, he's being silent because he knows he fucked up.
They all fucked up. You realize in one of those letters that I printed where he hinted at where the problem was.
Yep.
The Bar Association. Why? Because what do you think puts out your administrative judges and everything in the first place? They're appointed by what? From the bar. Some of them are appointed by the governor of your state. Some of them are elected in, but a lot of your magistrates and some of the others are just appointed. It's all their buddies that are there in town. Not objectively, let me move you to another county so you can serve in something where you know nobody. That's the way it's supposed to be. So you have no prejudice when you come in that courtroom. You don't know people from this community. That's why your judges should live the next county over and have nothing to do with it, or 2 counties over. But once again, they depend on this system because it's also part of, especially in a lot of states, their fucking retirement fund. They financially benefit from this shit. We've already proven that. We can prove that in a court of law.
Yep.
Go to your child support division and ask them for a breakdown under a FOIA Act of what they use their administrative, what their budget is, and where the money goes that they collect for administrative fees for child support. You're going to be really pissed off when you find out.
Here you go, guys. Because I want to read this other one to you. The 11th Amendment. CPS workers working for the state government are in violation of the 11th Amendment because they are acting upon a federal citizen as secured by the Constitution. Thus, families have the 11th Amendment immunity to CPS without strict scrutiny, means that the state must have interest that compels the conceivement of the average citizen person or human being as living as referenced in the Constitution, such as physical abuse. This must be proven strict scrutiny and a high standard that
Mhm.
that the state agent and courts must meet. Otherwise, families have the 11th Amendment immunity to the coercive interference in families' privacy by the state.
Oh yeah, Jonathan, they've been messing with our streams. People getting booted out. You're getting pixelated, slowing down speeds. Uh, yes, we're dealing with all of that. Like I said, a lot of us have already made watch lists. Just because we're talking about the Constitution, that seems a kind of thing and accountability that becomes a thing to actually watch you. Of, well, are you going to go this, that? No, we're trying to take and expose it so you guys and equip you guys with the tools you need to handle this shit yourselves. Yeah,
Yep,
there's
they
the
are.
problem. Get out of the system. Get away from what you can. If you need that, once again, you have time with some of it. Hey, I need time to brush up on all my stuff. The court has to give you that. Why? I need time. Same thing with an attorney. Hey, I need to review discovery. We need to suspend this for what? 6 weeks, 6 months. When's the next available calendar? All that you have the ability to do when you're a pro se sue jurist and you know what you're doing. Is it going to take you some work? Yes. Are you going back to school? Absolutely. But here's the issue. You should have fucking known it before you graduated high school,
Because they taught it to you in high school.
before you were 18 and you became comparable to serve this country. You should know what it says. So the Department of Education has absolutely failed the American people by not educating our children on their rights. Why? Because it's the first thing they want fucking a hold of in the state. There's even one here that it signs when you sign that parent thing, that little handbook. You don't realize that some of those have those documents there. That's signing over your rights to your child while they're in their custody. Oh, didn't look at that right, did you? Have a lawyer look at it. Absolutely, it does. I don't sign them. I never signed them. I said, I'm not signing my rights. Well, that's not what it is. It just says you're going to agree with this and this and that. No, I'm going to live under the fucking Constitution. You can't take and restrict my rights in any way, nor my child's. They need to experience what those freedoms are with a safety net. But that is the point why you get motherfucking federal funding, you fucks, was to teach the Constitution and their rights and how their government works and all that
And
shit.
the history of the
And the
Constitution.
history. Not this whoever decides what they want to. The good, unabridged, good and bad, evil, good, black, white, the whole fucking 9 yards, just tell the story and how we're working towards being better fucking Americans and better fucking humans. That was the foundational principle of this whole fucking country, of a melting pot. The Department of Education, I got two things for you. Fuck and you. You're a failure. And as every teacher out there is the same. You don't tell me that? No, let's look at facts. It's called scientific method. What are you producing? Let's pull random kids out of high school, getting ready to graduate, show them the Constitution, the Bill of Rights. Can they fucking read it? No, they can't read cursive. I'm trying to teach, between me and my wife, trying to teach my 18-year-old son cursive so he can take and read the fucking Constitution and Bill of Rights. Graduating fucking senior, failure in the system. They got to be able to read it. Oh, that's not important. We're more worried about goddamn pronouns and every fucking thing else. There's the reason to cut your fucking programs, because you ain't doing the core job.
No, they'd rather teach gender ideology. and forced it down our kids' throats. If you don't take the gender affirming, then you'll be suspended or kicked out of school. And I guarantee you that's what they're using on these kids.
Listen, this was designed. Public education was not designed with the good of things. It was to give you the basic fucking skills to stand on a fucking assembly line and obey. That's who funded this shit. That's who funded this shit. That's where the money came from for the push. Give me the money, I'll push your agenda. That's exactly where it came from. The point
Actually,
of the Department of Education was to make sure that you were teaching at least these things. Everything else was up to states' rights.
actually, Herbert, you're wrong, because in the state of Maine, okay, and they just said this on something I read today. In the state of Maine, our Miss Mills, the governor, has nothing but books upon books on gender ideology, whatever the hell it's called,
Ideology.
ideology. Okay, she has tons of that she's been giving to the schools and the teachers.
Listen, let me tell you something. I'm down in the southern states. I'm going to tell you a personal experience of something we experienced here, not much in the county, but the city school. They had someone of color move in that couldn't even afford. Somehow somebody put up the money, working somewhere, this and that. It was propaganda bullshit. Moving I believe it was a man and a boy, and he was involved in sports. And he got there, and they just magically put him in. He walk on some of the different things, and you'll have to the specifics of this. Once again, it's called journalism from asking several different people and picking. And these are just some of the things that come through. But here's the absolutes. That father and son got so offended because of the name of the high school had to do with something Southern or part of the Civil War. They literally sued the city school to change their name because it was offensive. And they removed the name of it. And I believe it was the mascot because it had something to do with the Confederates. And they absolutely lost the shit. Well, guess what? After they won that case and they changed it and they won their money, they left. And come to find out, they've done it probably when some investigative journalism. They've done this in several cities.
Herbert, you
Several
have
cities, they're making a living off of going to courts, suing under the same thing, and going right into a federal court. This is why, because they're in the right jurisdiction. They're suing the state for something the state's doing. You have to go to federal court. They know the jurisdiction, and they're making money off of this to destroy
Herbert,
names because it is offensive.
they've been publishing books for children that talk
Oh
about
God,
all kinds of nasty shit.
yes. It's
Even
their stuff that
even right
yeah.
down to our TV shows, that they're not like they were back in the 80s and 90s. They weren't so bad then. They are now. They're teaching kids in movies and whatnot how to.
Movies. They're doing it in fucking cartoons now on like
Yep.
PBS and some of the other stuff that was exposed. Teaching your children it's okay for other people to touch them and all sorts of other stuff in these fucking cartoons. All that's been exposed. Trust me. My wife's got fucking younger kids. Oh my God, you wouldn't believe the shit that's out there. Cartoons for children. There's no sense of morality. You want to protect kids? Well, that's freedom of speech. Well, keep it away from the kids. If grown folk want to do grown folk shit at 18, that's up to you. You grown. But under that, there is a line that is established by our country. Yep. 18, you're an adult. Leave the fucking kids alone. The biggest thing we were taught when we turned 18 is now all them 17-year-old girls or nobody that's 18, you can't deal with them.
It's funny
you say with the girls or the boys.
It's funny you say that, Sharon, because we found out today. You missed the main show, but we found out today, and Darren said it too, and we heard it on a thing. California's stuff comes to Maine.
Hmm.
All the people that they don't want, they come to Maine.
Yep. Their ideologies, half that other shit, and then you go into what is it, Seattle, Washington, some of the shit up there. That's where a lot of that Commie Core came from. And the guy actually that wrote it actually admitted to the fact that the white kids were becoming too intelligent and we had to dumb them down because the black kids were feeling left behind. Seriously, he said it. Go look it up. I'm not lying. It was in print. Wow. We have to dumb people down. They're getting too smart. Then the internet hit, then TikTok hit, and they lost their fucking mind. And how many people in Congress and the Senate were against TikTok? What were we doing? Sharing free information amongst each other. We were talking across multiple states, from California to Maine to Florida to Texas. Now we're all sharing our stories, and now we're getting a national look at the amount of fucked up CPS and other things are.
Naylor.
What's that?
You see what Naylor said?
What's that?
He's under Amy.
I don't know. I see Herbert's that says, hi, Tammy. You talking to one above it?
I
Watch out
can't
for
very well
HP.
say it because of what he put in there.
Oh, well, maybe it got filtered. But listen, guys, it comes down to this. There is knowledge, obtainable knowledge, that they haven't hidden from you, but they haven't discussed it by omission. There is a ton of information about your rights, where you are, where you stand, and all this stuff that's out there. Unfortunately, yes, you're older, but you should never stop learning, ever. It's the one thing you should never do for your mind is always challenge yourself every day to learn something new or read something new you did not know. It's how you keep your mind sharp, so on and so forth. But yeah, I didn't expect at the age I was my kids were pretty much raised to CPS to come in with their bullshit and just utterly do what they did to my family, and let alone my marriage and some of the other things, the stress. And God bless my wife that still we're fighting this together because we know, and it wasn't cut and run. You talk about good women. Those are women that don't cut and run, that turn around and say, I'll stand beside you and fight this because I know it's fucking bullshit and I know it's unconstitutional. Why? Because she was raised in a military family, and unconstitutional shit, let me tell you something, don't go over very well with veterans at all. Why? Because they paid for that motherfucking freedom with their service. And there's one thing I think it ought to do is that, in my opinion, I think if you're able to serve, I think you should serve your country in any aspect, one way or another, whether it's through the military or anything. If you can, find a way to serve and benefit others. But guys, catch us next time. There you go.
That
Guys,
was Mr.
I think we're
Baird.
getting close to our time
We're
here,
at that
man.
time. Well, I'm going to leave it at this, guys. We are all fighting. We're all trying to get the information out there to you. We're all working on things. We're all in progress. We have to trust and believe that Mr. Trump is going to do the right thing and he's going to hear what we got to say. We're all reaching out to him, every single one of us. And we're starting to see progress here and there. And we just got to keep going. We got to keep fighting. We got to keep messaging these people, whether it's messaging them, emailing them, sending a letter to the White House. We all need to dig in and get our voices heard, guys. But without that, we're not going to get no ground. Yeah, they're going to do some investigations. Obviously, Maine's being looked into because of smart ass mouth of Governor Mills. But here's the thing, guys. You need to start digging in. You really do. And you got to start supporting each other. So until then, have a great night, and we are out of here.
In a small Maine town, under the sky so clear, fights driven by the fear. The CPS is corrupt, breaking hearts in cold. He stands with the people, brave and bold. With the Constitution held high in his hand, he walks the streets a one-man band. No more kids for cash, no more silent cries. In Vinny's eyes, the truth never dies. We're fighting for justice, standing tall. Vinny's voice echoes, answering the call. Through our podcast, we light up the night, freeing our kids, bringing truth to light. Families torn apart in the dead of night. Vinny's on the front line, ready for the fight. He records the stories, each tear and word, amplifying voices, making sure they're heard. Night. Vinny's on the front line, ready for the fight. He records the stories, each tear and word, amplifying voices, making sure they're heard. Oh, we're fighting for justice, standing tall. Echoes answering the call. Through our podcast, we light up the night, freeing our kids, bringing truth to life. Down the scenic roads, past the rustling pines, Vinny dreams of freedom, crossing lines. Against the corruption, he won't stand down. The CPS in Maine will lose their crown.